Unfortunately, this is the question that is my story. Many of you know pieces of this journey already because you've walked with parts or all of it with me side by side. But thank you for letting me share it. It's a long story, so I'm going to start in August of 2018 when we learned that my very aggressive triple-negative breast cancer had returned. The tumor I found was the same invasive ductal carcinoma that I'd first fought in 2008. It was highly differentiated with a total Nottingham score of 9, which all just basically means it was about as aggressive as breast cancer can get. But for some odd reason, unlike when I had it the first time, the task of getting the necessary tests and treatment turned out to be a slow and painful process this time, one that we're still battling today. Since I'd already lost 30 pounds by the time we found that tumor, and my blood work was very abnormal, and I had several rare medical conditions that defied explanation, my oncologist decided we'd go straight to PET scan. And they did ask for that, 3 times in fact. And it was subsequently denied by my insurance company every time, despite them talking personally to the peer-to-peer doctor. By November of 2018, with no real progress, other than thankfully there was no cancer on the CTs and bone scan, I asked my surgical oncologist to remove the tumor and to place support for future treatment. I didn't feel comfortable moving forward with mastectomy at that time because the surgery was a 9-hour surgery with an intensive recovery, and my body was crippled by many other health issues. In addition, due to that 30-pound weight loss, I was told that I didn't even have enough fat on my stomach for one breast the same size as my other. So I decided I'd wait. Breast implants were not an option for me. In fact, I'd had the ones I had removed when I found my first tumor in 2008, because since I decided to get them in 2004, I had mysteriously gone from being super healthy to becoming more and more ill. There was a pain under my left implant from the day they were put in, right here underneath my breast, next to my sternum. And I told all the doctors this, even before that first tumor appeared, as I started having medical conditions, as the pain traveled right through my chest wall and started affecting my stomach and spine and shoulder. In fact, I was already scheduled to get the implants out on October 10th of 2008, when I found that first breast tumor on October 1st of 2008. They told me they thought it was cancer, but since I had surgery scheduled, I decided I'd take the tumor that was on the right out at the same time as the implants. And that tumor was cancer. But that left implant, well, it was infected. And my body had fought it so hard, like the foreign invader it was. It had broken down the outer capsule, and it had degraded and worked its way right into my chest wall, right where I'd been telling everyone the pain had started. The surgeon did the job she could, the best job she could, getting as much of that capsule out of my chest wall as possible. She removed some bone and muscle in the process, and it was really hard to stop the bleeding. After I'd recovered from the surgery and started the chemo to fight this aggressive cancer, I was actually thrilled because chemo started making me better. My chest pain improved, and all of these strange neurological symptoms and the issues with my stomach somehow were magically getting better. So hallelujah, I thought, it's over. The problem is solved. I was ready to move on. I was devastated when 4 weeks after stopping chemo's treatments, all of the symptoms started coming back with a vengeance. I've seen over 100 doctors since then, and I've told them all the same thing, that this thing under my chest wall where they scraped this implant off is where all of my medical conditions started and continued, because I felt them every step of the way. Maybe it had nerve or blood vessel involvement, I didn't know. So maybe that's why when my cancer reappeared in August of 2018, I wasn't as devastated as you'd think, because strange things had begun happening in 2018. Doctors that I saw before that thought I was crazy or didn't help me, well, it had changed as I pushed them aggressively to help me with what was now becoming a terrifying pain. Not only were they not helping me, but they started falsifying information, covering up tests that had been done, lying. And I knew this, I had evidence of it, but for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. When I saw my medical oncologist first in September of 2018, he told me that my blood work indicated I probably needed a bone marrow biopsy, but since we were going straight to PET scan, we'd wait for those results. He was amazed because the breast cancer I have comes back in 2 to 3 years, not 10 years like me. He pondered chemo and said we never used the same chemo twice because if the cancer comes back, it didn't work. However, he said we could make the argument with me that it worked for 10 years. But I was never offered any chemo by him. By the time I went back to him in December of 2018 with new concerns about my stomach, I was told he'd taken my case to tumor board and no one had any options. So I informed him I'd decided that I was going to try alternative chemo treatment instead, using the IPT or insulin potentiated method. I'm still really unclear why I was never offered chemo for a very aggressive breast cancer. But my faith tells me that it's not my job to determine the motives of the people that didn't do what they should have regarding my medical care. Being angry and unforgiving, well, there's a lot of people that say that works against you recovering from cancer. I believe when God shuts all the doors but one, you've got a choice. You can look at all the doors that are shut and get angry, or you can realize that God's making it perfectly clear which one you are supposed to walk through. And I was really happy that I had IPT chemo door to walk through, thanks to brave doctors that see the benefit of this care. If you read about IPT chemo online, you'll see debate between Western and alternative medicine regarding effectiveness, and all I can speak to is what I have experienced personally, because I went for alternative treatment in 2012 first, when Western medicine couldn't heal this immunosuppression that I had, nor the gastroparesis that was crippling me. And when the vitamin C infusions and other alternative treatments turned my blood work around, in 2 months I was amazed. But I was more amazed when I saw cancer patients that had been given death sentences by Western medicine healing and improving. I saw tumors that had disappeared completely, and they went back and they were called miracles. But for whatever reason, this treatment worked, and I knew it. IPT chemo takes advantage of the fact that cancer cells have many, many more insulin receptors than healthy cells do, because they love sugar. The patient is carefully monitored and given an injection to lower their blood sugar to the optimal level for treatment. This causes all of the insulin receptors in the body to open wide, literally starving for sugar. So when chemo is subsequently pushed through intravenously, followed by a glucose push, the cancer cells gobble it all up much faster than all your healthy cells do. The end result of targeting cancer cells this way is that patients can receive smaller doses of chemo, spaced more closely together, with fewer of the awful side effects that they get having chemo the traditional way. I know from personal experience that treating my body simultaneously with infusions to boost my immune system gave me more energy than I'd had the first time going through treatment. I had 10 IPT chemo treatments from December 27th, 2018 to February 13th, 2019, and I still have enough hair to not have a wig. I actually gained 5 pounds that I subsequently lost when it stopped. And the most amazing thing at all is that all of these rare medical conditions that I insisted were tied to this chest pain, pseudotumor cerebri, high spinal fluid squeezing my brain, gastroparesis, all of them got better. My stomach finally started working again. I don't know how, but all I can say is hallelujah. But unfortunately, as we were starting IPT, we'd also found some other things wrong. The gallbladder on the HIDA scan wasn't working right. They suggested I take it out, but it didn't explain the 30-pound weight loss. Nor did it explain what they found on the MRIs I had to pay out of pocket for to get. This diffuse thickening on my stomach wall, which could be indicative of cancer. And most shocking of all, that soft tissue mass that I've been saying for 10 years was right here in my chest wall. There it was, right between the muscle and bone, where that implant had been, where it had been scraped off. What I was saying for 10 years was true. I finally had proof. I wouldn't have even been persistent about getting those MRIs done and paid out of pocket if I hadn't realized the depth of what the doctors were covering up. Because in October, when I knew that PET scan was never coming, I decided to take some of those imaging reports and get a second opinion on them on websites available online. I knew they'd been falsified, but even I was shocked at what I found. Starting with the tumor in my breast that I had discovered in August of 2018. I had gone to a Goliath Medical Center where I was seeking care in February, desperate, telling them this thing in my chest wall that was fluid-like, it was about to burst, begging them for help the day before it actually did burst. And then I went back to them telling them it had burst and requested an MRI of my chest and abdomen. They did a CTA instead. And they did it at the imaging center owned by them in their professional building. And I knew the moment I got it, it had been altered because the things that I had seen on all the other CTs for years, a calcified granuloma in my lung, atelectasis, they weren't on there. And I found that odd even before I turned the page and saw something I've never seen on any other test I've had done, that the same tech that read the test and had a radiologist sign off on it had added a line and had corrected it afterwards. I knew they'd taken things off, but until October, I never realized that the tumor in my breast that was there 2 weeks after this fluid burst, the very aggressive cancer that I didn't find till August, well, they knew it was there in March, and they took it off and they hid it from me. And I wish I could say that's all that has been done. But I have 10 tests that I've been lied to and that have been falsified so far. But this is not a story about me going into the gory details of all the people that have wronged me. I don't want to name the names of the Goliaths and medical centers and insurance companies that have done me wrong, because I don't want to drag everyone through the mud unless I can avoid it. I have plenty of evidence, 10 years of it, medical imaging, discs, reports, second opinion, emails, doctor visits, and yes, even recorded conversations, because let's face it, I knew I couldn't trust some of y'all. And all of it safely stored with a lot of people that I trust, because I am not naive enough to know that making this video makes me a target. So if anything happens to me or someone I love, this story will come out with all the names and all the gory details. And the people I love now include the brave doctors, both Western and alternative medicine, that just helped me anyway. I don't ever want the story to come out that way. I want everyone to play nice, not because I haven't been righteously ticked off. I've had a lot of people tell me that I need to sue. But this story and the answers started with a story of faith that is so powerful, it's changed me forever. So if any story is going to be told, that's the one I'm compelled to tell. My faith tells me it's not my job to determine the motives of the people that did this to me. Breast implant-associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma starts with a fluid infection that attaches to the outer capsule of a breast implant. If it's caught early, it can be removed along with breast implants for a full recovery, causing no further issues. If it's not caught early, the progression looks eerily similar to my 10-year history. It's not that no one wants to diagnose women with this new cancer. That's the only thing standing in my way. But it's also that the 500 plus women that have been diagnosed so far all have textured implants. Because the flex of the shell, even with saline implants, that shell is silicone. And the flex contain pieces that have known carcinogens and 40 plus neurotoxins, and those go in the body and create this autoimmune chemical effect that changes your body chemistry. And so textured implants flex and break off, but guess what? We know that I still have pieces of those smooth implants embedded right here in my chest wall too. It makes perfect sense I could have BIA-ALCL, and I'm guessing I'm not the only one with smooth breast implants that does. I might be the only one that can prove it so far. The question now is whether anyone will do the CD30 test that I need to prove whether I do or don't have what I suspect. I had biopsies last month of the mass in my chest wall, as well as this diffuse thickening on my stomach. The surgeon made it clear when he came back in the room that he thought my stomach was cancer because my entire stomach looked like a hard fuzzy wool sock, and it's supposed to look like a soft silk tie, and it had numerous adhesions. But unfortunately, the lab that all my biopsies were sent to for testing, well, they just didn't feel it was necessary to do the CD30 test on any of my biopsies. Which is strange because that was the only reason we biopsied my chest wall, was to test for this. Now I've asked the doctor to tell them I need these tests done, but that doesn't mean they'll do it. And well, even if they come back and tell me I don't have it, can I really believe them? A lot of people have lied to me so far. So here I am, not wanting to cross the bridge with lawsuits and naming names, because the God that started the story that led to the answers, he deserves a different ending than that. And here I am. I'm holding out the olive branch. I'm asking us to all come together on this. I'm asking them to play nice, and I will too. I'm asking them to take this opportunity for what you've done wrong to make it right. I'm handing it to you. It's what we're all supposed to do. Because what I have learned in this alternative treatment, it's not isolated to BIA-ALCL. These answers could help anybody immunosuppressed needing chemo. These answers could help people with autoimmune diseases. These answers could help people with medical devices implanted in their body that are saving their very lives. Yet their body's rejecting them like a foreign invader, just like my body did. My body holds the answers. Whether it's a miracle that I am still here because I have an aggressive breast cancer that should have come back long ago, or whether I have had metastasized stage 4 BIA-ALCL for 10 years, my body holds answers the world needs to know. And the time is right. The FDA, I just heard, is trying to label the poly-MVA IV I'm getting right now as a pharmaceutical to treat cancer patients. In fact, on February 7th, they posted a notice telling all doctors to find and help and diagnose women that might have BIA-ALCL. I don't want to have to fight for help anymore. I just want the answers to come and be true. I have a sneaking suspicion if I'd tried to find an attorney before going public, it would have been about as hard for me to find someone in Texas to help me with this as it was to find somebody that would treat me for pseudotumor cerebri that was so extreme on 7 spinal taps. Most of all, what I hope is that we can all come together and use this for good, and that my story will give other people that feel like they have no options one day hope. Because the healing that's happening in me right now is healing the way God intended. I don't know what my future holds. We've currently spent $50,000 out of pocket on just alternative treatment, IPT therapy, and infusions. And that's not even touching what we've spent with deductibles and on Western medicine. And by the looks of my stomach, we've got a ways to go, and the money's running out. But I'm trusting God because I'm doing what He told me to right now. And I'm hoping and praying that He continues to heal my body, and I'll be blessed to put this awful aggressive cancer, whatever it is, behind me for another 10 years or more, so I can move forward and try and use what I know for good to help others. Thank you for hearing my story. God bless you.